Konnichiwa, y'all, and welcome to the 10 at 10 for May 9th of 2024.
I'm Tim, that's Matt. We're MrMaple.com. We're those crazy brothers who do over 1,500 different varieties of Japanese maples. You better check us out on MrMaple.com. We list 10 new trees every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Guys, it's actually 20. And we also do it on Thursday, so we list 40 trees a week. These today are getting listed at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
I'm actually the brother that's totally sane. Let's get into it, guys. We've got Acer Palatum Orange Dream coming back to the table today.
Yeah, a selection by Ghirardelli Nursery in Italy. They introduced Fire Glow. They introduced Orange Dream. This is the original yellow palmatum, and Orange Dream, it just brings it. I mean, you give this tree some protection from the hot afternoon sun, but push the sunlight as much as you can, and you get that bleaching yellow effect that makes Orange Dream famous. Yeah, now this one in the early spring can actually get some great shades of orange. I like to put it in a container and play with the sunlight. It definitely doesn't want a lot of sun late in the season, but if you're getting a little morning sun in the early spring, you can get some orangish hues to it. I actually love the pink to orange new growth this one will put on as well. Really exquisite on the colors, guys. Goes to a light green in summer, then a bold orange in the fall. Really a good grower to it, typically over a foot of growth a year. It does slow down in that 8 to 10 foot range in about 10 years. Absolutely beautiful tree though, and it's one that's going to bite up a darker spot in your garden. So if you want to put this one somewhere with some early morning sun, late day shade, you can really just get some impeccable colors. Great plant all around too. I think those color patterns really bring it. My favorite is early spring, a little bit of sun, you're kind of pushing the sun level. You've got yellow and then you've got those pink orange highlights over top of the whole plant. That's just one of my favorite times to look at Orange Dream. Yeah, Orange Dream, it's a yellow to really add that in the garden. Guys, from one yellow to another yellow.
Speaking of highlights.
I know, we got Thuga Oxydentalis highlights.
I like the glass here has a little like champagne wine thing going on. This is a great plant. It's going to work zones 5 through 8. Super durable. This makes a great screening plant as well. So if you're looking for something to block out an annoying neighbor, hey, grab you a highlight. You can highlight the situation by blocking them out. And this is an evergreen that gives you that yellow color. So it gives you yellow color year round. What highlights does is similar to what Orange Dream does, but it's an evergreen. So you can take this tree, put it out there, add that yellow color in the landscape with that conical shape. Yeah, obviously this is an evergreen. This is gonna get about 8 feet tall, about 4 foot wide, giving you some good width, good density to it. Nice conical shape like Tim was saying. Very popular for a screening plant. So you can use this kind of in conjunction with others to kind of block out an area. Great on its own as well. I mean, it's kind of a real structural piece in the garden either way. Absolutely love this Thuga. I think you're going to like it in your garden. It looks great in a container too, so if you just want to put this in a pot, kind of enjoy that splash of yellow, brings it there as well. Guys, next up we've got Acer Palmatum Japanese Sunrise. Great plant here, guys. Japanese Sunrise, an oldie but a goodie. The reason they call this one Japanese Sunrise is it will get some interesting bark to it. So you'll get kind of a yellow on one side and a red on the other side of the bark, giving it a sunrise-like appearance to it. You're going to kind of get some play in the colors throughout the season on this one, changing on the bark interest. Great orangey kind of red fall color on it as well. Typically yellows to oranges light on this one. Great grower at over a foot of growth a year. Now I do recommend the coral barks for zone 6 through zone 9. Now, once I saw someone offer Japanese Sunset, and I'm like, how do you tell the difference? Because one was supposed to come from one side, and literally if they just turned the pot the other direction, it was supposed to be the other cultivar. We got a sunrise and a sunset. Now growing these in the greenhouse right now, the bark will be at its greenest like many other coral barks. They're a little muted in the greenhouse. These will actually be prettier once they've been in the ground for a full year. They are very sun resistant. So if you're in an area with good drainage, that's kind of paramount for these. Good drainage is really going to give you some awesome looking bark. Now this is a selection by our good friend Billy Schwartz. Little known fact, it's the same guy who's the father to Shayna. So you've seen Shayna, the Acer Palmatum. His daughter is named Shayna. Billy Schwartz also found and named Japanese Sunrise. You don't see him credited that often, but from the horse's mouth himself, he said, that's my introduction. One, you don't see that frequently in the nursery trade anymore, but an excellent winter interest Japanese maple. Good to hear it from a horse. All right, what's up next, y'all? We've got some Dawn Redwoods coming back, guys. This is an interesting columnar one. Metasequoia glyptosomboides urban spire. And what this one does, as the name may suggest, is it gives you that spire-like shape, reaching 15 feet in height by 5 foot in width. It's a Dawn Redwood, so it gives you that amazing bark as well. When it drops its needles during the winter, yes, it's a deciduous conifer. When it drops its needles, you can see that redwood bark that makes Dawn Redwoods famous. Yeah, this one's going to work zones 4 through 8. Works great in a damper spot in the garden. That bark interest Tim mentioned is awesome. Also has a very dark green foliage to it. Looks great in the landscape. Absolutely love dawn redwoods. I think they're some of the most underrated deciduous conifers out there. The color patterns on them are amazing. The growth on them is amazing. They're going to give you big trees in the landscape. They're going to be durable, heat tolerant. They're going to soak up water. It's a much better plant for a wet spot in your garden than a traditional Japanese maple. And anytime you're getting something that's more narrow and caliber in its habit, that's great for such a large growing tree.
Yeah, and it can handle the dry spots in the garden, but the wet spots in the garden are really where this tree can do things that other trees can't. So you can put it in those wetter spots in the landscape, and it can really take off. You know, in those drier spots, we're talking 15 feet in 10 years by 5 foot wide. But if you're in a wetter spot, you may get upwards to 2 to 2.5 foot of growth in a year with Urban Spire. Next up, guys, we've got Acer Solum, Arum, the golden full moon Japanese maple.
Always a classic, y'all. Love this plant. Great grower. Beautiful colors to it. One of the original OG Shir Solums, cultivars that you'll see all around the world. I think the first one actually claimed as Arum is there at Esfeld Plantinum. Legend has it Seabold sailed up and threw the original tree out where it's planted now on the banks there in Holland. Absolutely cool plant. Now this tree has your quintessential Shir Solum style leaf with bright yellow foliage.
The thing I love about Acer Shir Solum Arum is this yellow color. I mean, it's one of the full moon leaves, so you get that full moon rounded shape. It's such a classic when you think about Acer Shir Solum. Often people picture the foliage on Acer Shir Solum Arum. It's because that perfectly rounded shape and that yellow color is just exquisite out in the landscape. Now, this is one of those plants that you find that happy spot in the garden and you've got a beautiful tree that you can enjoy for years to come.
High dappled shades work great for me here in Zone 6B in Western North Carolina. I kind of place this one where I place my Ukigumo. I got a high oak canopy and it absolutely loves it. The tree looks amazing. Great fall colors, kind of an orangey red in the fall. Sometimes even more oranges than reds. Love Acer Shir Solum Arum. We often recommend it for a container. You can kind of play with the spotting on it then. Absolutely love it. Grab you a full moon, golden full moon maple today.
One thing people don't talk about with Arum a lot is that it also leaves out later than many of the other varieties. So if you've got an area that's got a lot of frost, you know, that one actually leaves out later so it avoids some of that frost.
You know something people do talk about a lot?
What?
Our open house coming up, Memorial Day, guys. We've got May 27th, Memorial Day. We're going to be here from 8 to 5. It's going to be a phenomenal time, y'all. Guest person coming, special announcement coming soon on who's going to be here. I think you guys are going to want to be part of it. We're going to do another game show, be giveaway. With that, there's going to be so much fun. We're going to have a food truck, possibly a coffee truck again. Guys, I think you're absolutely going to enjoy being here. And to top it off, the best maples from around the world. We're going to have absolutely more maples here than we've ever had before. Memorial Day is our premium open house of the year. We're pulling out all the stops, y'all. And we're going to have a special guest this year I think a lot of you guys would like to meet.
Well, next up, guys, we've got Acer Palmatum, Uncle Ghost. Now, Uncle Ghost is a selection by Talon Buchholz of Buchholz Nursery.
I hear he's a nice guy.
I hear he's a really nice guy.
It'd be fun to meet him.
You know, it would be. Now, Uncle Ghost is a really cool tree because it's upright, but it has a semi-pendulous habit. So it reaches 6 to 8 foot in 10 years with a really unique shape, but the reticulation on this tree is what makes it famous.
This one could be one of my favorite pink reds. It could give Celebration sometimes a run for its money for that pink red coloration, maybe even bordering on a little bit more red than pink red, but it gets some great shades in it. Absolutely love Uncle Ghost. Medium in its height, not as big as some of the other ghosts. Not one you see in the trade as much anymore. Often one of those ones that people need to get to 8. I know everybody needs Martha to get to 9 these days, but it's one that we keep offering frequently here on Mr. Maple. We're going to make that whole Ghost series available in chunks and maybe all at once at some point. Grab you an Uncle Ghost, though. It's underrated. Great fall colors, bold reds to oranges. Typically more of a red on that one. That multi-stemmed growth to it gives it a really unique look. It looks awesome in the ground, but it also is a great candidate for the container garden.
Now, the etching of the green reticulated variegation on this tree, on that pink-red color, is really what makes this tree stand out and gives it more of an electric look across the variegation, across the foliage. You're going to love Uncle Ghost. Give it some protection from the hot afternoon sun and hotter climates, but that tree is really going to be a showstopper.
Great introduction by Talon Buchholz. He's the guy that named that entire Ghost series. You know, I don't know if you ever have a chance to meet Talon, I definitely take that chance.
I think I would heavily recommend it.
Yeah. All right, guys, next up, Acer Campestre Postulens.
So guys, this is an Acer Campestre. Many of y'all may be familiar with Carnival. This is a yellow Campestre. You put this out in the sunlight, it gets more yellow as that summer progresses.
Now, the European field maples work zones 5 through 8. They do want to be a little denser. They tend to be a little more multi-stemmed. This one's typically around 8 to 10 foot tall in that 10-year span. They do want to make more of a rounded canopy to them as well.
Yeah, and for another yellow, I mean, we've had Orange Dream, we've had Highlights, we've had Acer Shir Arum. This is a yellow you're going to really enjoy.
No yellow dance yet, though.
No yellow dance.
No yellow dance. All right. Maybe at open house, y'all. You'll have to be here to see. Maybe we'll have a yellow dance competition for a yellow tree. How about that in the game show? Final round, yellow dance off.
Guys, next up we've got Acer Palmatum Shigarami.
Shigarami classic cultivar, guys. I love the border this one brings, especially in the early spring. Get a kind of a reddish border on this one. Can be a little purple at times, but it's almost more of a red on that really crisp, clean leaf.
Yeah, I mean, this thing is a rock star in the early spring. You're still seeing some purple border on it now. Trees in the cold frames have been in a leaf since probably about mid-February. So we're here in May already. I mean, you're still seeing that many months later some good spring interest on these trees. For me, this is like Sumagaki in that, you know, fingernail painted fashion, but it's a little more heat tolerant. It can handle a little more sun, and it's a little more upright.
The leaf reminds me a little bit more of a traditional Amelinum style as well, so it's a little bit more crisp. It's a little bit more of a leaf like what you'd expect on Osakazuki with that bordered nail. Really a showstopper though. Older cultivar, but it has a great place in the garden still. I think you're going to love this one, whether it's in the container or the ground. A lot of those older Japanese cultivar collectors got to grab you a Shigarami today.
And if you hadn't, check out our podcast we did on the 1700s list. You can learn more about some of these old, ancient, cool cultivars that not many people, you know, see in the trade today.
All right, guys, shout out to Neil Facillo, or Neil Ramsey as the stage name goes. We sent this one to Talon a couple years ago, and he absolutely loved it, so we got it heavy into production. We're bringing about Acer Palmatum Ayaki.
Yeah, Ayaki, give this tree some sunlight. It's got a little bit of a purple nail in the early spring, but it actually gets more yellow during the summer when you give it some sunlight.
Yeah, this one can get some really cool borders to it. I love it for the container. It's a smaller tree at typically 4 foot tall, but about 5 foot wide. Low cascading umbrella. Pushing the sun on this one can get it even more yellow. Now, Neil was growing this in a good bit of sun down in the Atlanta area. Doing great for durability. Great oranges to yellows in the fall color on this one as well. Looks really nice in a container. Now, it's also done very well in the shade, but will green up more in the shade.
Now, after we'd sent this to Talon Buchholz, he sent me photos of it in fall color, and he was just thrilled by how this thing can just give some pink-red fall colors that are just highlighter in their color and performed really well for him in Oregon. He was just so excited about this tree, and this tree does have a phenomenal fall color. We often talk about all the other traits, but the fall color on this tree, it's one of the best.
Very contorted arching habit to this one as well, so you get a lot of twists and turns that make it a very unique lace leaf. It's not uncommon for a branch to go one way and then completely turn the other direction. I see that pretty frequently on this one, which I think is a pretty cool characteristic.
This one has an excellent weeping habit, and it's just with lots of fun hooks. I mean, dynamically, it has a really good architecture in the garden.
All right, y'all, last but not least, we've got Acer Palmatum Kashima. This is sometimes referred to as Kashima Yatsubusa, exact same plant.
Yeah, this is a tree that has that compact hime type shape, that toadstool appearance. In the early spring, this thing has some coral pink colors coming across the new growth, sometimes a little bit of a border, but it stays short and wide.
Yeah, I love this one. Very popular for bonsai for that small leaf. You get kind of a pink-purple border on this one in the early spring. Really a showstopper. A one that I think maybe one of the most popular of that Kiyohime style for bonsai. A lot of people recommend Kashima and Kashima Yatsubusa in the bonsai books. That small leaf works really well with the pinchback method. That density works really great as well, because you got a lot of structure to play with when you're pruning and shaping this one. You can kind of let it fill out a little bit and then have kind of more to work with if you're going to bonsai it. Personally, I love this one just in a container all on its own. I remember seeing this one at Augustin Coelho-Vera's home in France in a blue pot on a container in his yard, and it really just showed up. I mean, it was such a showpiece of a tree, just letting it kind of fill out and get dense.
I mean, for a small, short tree, I mean, this is one of those trees that's perfect to put underneath a windowsill at a house. You don't want to block the window. It's never going to get up tall enough if you've got 3 feet to the window. I mean, it's going to stay short and wide. And when it does that, it's going to fill out that space, give you a dynamic presence, and give you some good fall color and a fun shaped Japanese maple.
All right, guys, that's our 10 at 10 for today. If you're going to be coming to open house, guess in the comments section below who you think our special guest will be. There'll be signups coming out for that soon. Hope you guys are excited to be here for Memorial Day. It's going to be a phenomenal time. And like we said, that's where we pull out all the stops. It's the big show of the year. Definitely get your chance to be there. I think you're absolutely going to love it.
Is it Elvis? Is Elvis coming?
It's not Elvis.
Huh.
It's not Elvis.
Well, guys, take care.
God bless.
And have a great day.